Yo, what's going on, y'all? It's Cone back here again today with another episode of After the Buzzer, the show where I recap the NBA games from the night. Only 2 games on this slate, not a crazy 15-game action-packed night of hoops, but the 2 games we got were amazing. Bucks versus Spurs began the night, and Warriors versus Nuggets closed it off. Both games went down to the wire, came to the final shots, and we saw some star-studded performances, huge takeaways, and in particular, I want to talk about a battle between a past MVP and most likely a future MVP, the future and the present of the league, a matchup that I've really been waiting for, and one that lived up to the hype and even exceeded it in some moments. Also, Denver Golden State just happened to feature one of the most insane shots I've ever seen, and a lot of drama that seems to be building for the Warriors. We'll talk about all that in a moment, but first, leave a like and subscribe if you enjoy, hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on future videos, and as always, I'd love to hear your takeaways down below in the comments. So let's go ahead and kick it off with Bucks versus Spurs. It was the first meeting of Giannis Antetokounmpo and Victor Wembanyama. As I alluded to in the intro, it's the present versus the future. Giannis is the current dominant 7-footer who's having such an underrated season right now. He still is one of the most unstoppable forces, if not the most unstoppable force in the NBA most nights. Great defensively, he's got the Bucks as a top 2 seed in the Eastern Conference. He's making an MVP case and trying to push for a second title and destroying anybody in his path on that way. Meanwhile, for Victor Wembanyama, he comes in as the future of this league, a generational prospect, one of the greatest prospects of all time, and a guy who seems very likely to win an MVP of his own someday, probably multiple MVPs like Giannis, if not multiple depoys as well. He seems to be coming for that top spot, a current top 3 player versus a future top 3 player, past MVP and depoy versus a future one. It really felt like a moment where we could see somewhat of a passing of the torch, and this game lived up to all the hype, both in terms of the individual matchup, but also in terms of the game itself. It was way better than a matchup you would expect between a 5-29 and a 25-10 team. It came down to the literal last shot with Trey Jones having a really good look at a corner 3 to tie this one, ends up missing it. Bucks get the rebound. Pat Connaughton hits a free throw to put it away. Bucks win by 4 points, but it took a lot. There were a couple of lead changes. The Spurs made this massive run the fourth, then Giannis battled back. Giannis and Wemby, not only were at the center of it in terms of the big names in this one, they were at the center of it in terms of everything that happened down the stretch that made this game as special as it was. Giannis continued his unbelievable season so far, dropping 44 points, 14 boards, 7 assists, 2 steals, and a block on 68% shooting, including 2 of 3 from 3 in the fourth quarter, with both of those buckets being huge down the stretch threes. One of them tied the game, I believe. One of them took the lead. One of them was over Victor Wembanyama, pulling him out to the perimeter and shooting it right over him. It was another masterclass from, again, a player who I feel like has kind of gotten overlooked this season. I feel like somewhat we've been normalized to Giannis's greatness, the way that he drops 40, 50 pieces on some of the most absurd shooting splits you've ever seen, stuffs the stat sheet, dominates defensively, dunks on 3 to 4 people a game, sometimes knocks down a couple of threes here and there. Giannis is truly a special talent, one of the best in the world, and has been for a really long time at this point. But on the other end, Wemby answered the call. He didn't end up winning Rookie of the Month. Instead, Chet Holmgren did, and after the game, Wemby said he took that personally. He said he wanted to make a statement in this game against one of the league's top talents, Giannis, and he certainly did that. 27 points, 9 rebounds, 1 assist, and 1 steal with 5 blocks on 56% shooting in just 26 minutes played. He didn't even play that long, and he still put up that stat line. Imagine if he had played 32, 35 minutes in this game, similar to the way that a lot of stars do. Wemby probably would have went out there and had a 36-10 to 7 block game, something insane like that. And also, just taking a look at some of the individual highlights, he was doing some of the most alien stuff I've ever seen Vic do. And for Victor Wembanyama, that is saying a lot, because every game you're going to see a moment that physically does not seem possible, but in this game, he was doing some of the most absurd things you will ever see in a basketball court. He had a self-lob after an insane step-through past Giannis, very similar to the Chet Holmgren we saw a few weeks ago. A couple just little push shots where he jumped up and held the ball above Brook Lopez, and it felt like he was just dropping the ball into the basket because he's that tall. It didn't even look like it was effort for him. He had a behind-the-back poster dunk in transition over Brook Lopez, who, by the way, finished top 3 in depoy last season. He had Brook Lopez in hell a lot of this game. Had one of the craziest looking scoop layups you've ever seen because his arms are so long. And of course, a couple of threes, including a big one to tie the game with a minute left. Victor Wembanyama, and I have said it a million times, but I don't know how else to put it, does not make sense. A player should not be this skilled with the ball in his hands at this height. He shouldn't be this fluid. He shouldn't be able to do all the things that he does. He just really doesn't feel like a basketball player that should be able to exist, but he does, and he went out there and battled right up against Giannis, and the two of them were going at it down the stretch. There have been a couple times, like when Vic and Chet played not too long ago, where they didn't really match up that much because at that point Vic was playing power forward and Chet was playing center, but now Vic has played a little bit more center, and of course Giannis is the 4 out there, so it felt like we wouldn't get that many moments. But down the stretch, Wemby and Giannis were guarding each other, and they were going for each other's throats. Wemby hit Giannis with this great fake off ball to get a cut to the basket for a dunk. Giannis attacked Wemby downhill and got an and one, finishing right up and over him with some finesse. He also got a switch on Wemby, and like I alluded to earlier, pulled him outside on the perimeter for a 3 right over him. The final shot Giannis took, he went ahead and attacked Wemby, tried to just shoulder into him to push him out of the way and dunk on him or just finish over him. Wemby just absorbed the contact, blocks Giannis, ball stays in bounds, gives his team a chance to go ahead and tie the game up with 23 seconds left, his 5th block of the night. It was basketball cinema watching two of the most absurd and freakish athletes battle it out down the stretch of this really close game. It was the present and future of the sport. 2 7-foot dominant forces. Imagine what a 7-game series between these two guys would look like. You've got 7 games of Giannis and Wemby trying to dunk on each other, having insane plays as they barrel downhill, take 2 steps from half court, and are able to finish with a poster dunk, knock down threes, handle the ball. It would be incredible. And obviously it's not going to happen for a while because the Spurs are terrible right now. They've got 5 wins on the season, but at some point in their careers, I really hope we get this matchup. Maybe Giannis goes out west, Wemby goes out east at some point. I don't know. Just give me a playoff series between these two guys at some point. I need to see it. The sport of basketball needs these two guys to be able to battle it out over the course of a 7-game series. It would be incredible. I love watching games like this where you see the future of the sport battle an established star in the moment. It really just consistently reminds me how we're in great hands for the future of the NBA. You talk about next generation guys like Wemby battling out with Chet right now for Rookie of the Year, one of the best Rookie of the Year races we've seen in a long time. You've got young guys like Shea, Luka, Anthony Edwards, Fox, Tatum, Halliburton, Paolo, he's going crazy over there right now in Orlando. Just some guys off the top of my head, plus more guys from this draft class that I think are going to be really good guys. They're going to blossom out of nowhere. Future players. Like, this league is in incredible hands. It has never been this talented. The crop of young players are ready to take the throne right now. I mean, you see it right now in both conferences. Some of the best teams are led by these really young guys, while some of the more veteran-led squads have fallen down the standings a bit. We're seeing the real-time passing of the torch from the old generation to the new one, and games like this show just how great the NBA is going to be for so long. It was amazing to watch Wemby versus Giannis. I can't wait for the rematch at some point here soon. I hope they play again this season. I believe they do. I forgot to check the schedule before I recorded this. But anyways, if Giannis and Wemby do end up playing each other at some point again this season, or next time they do, make sure to tune your TV over to that, because this game was special. It really did not matter the context of it, that it was a random regular season game between a really bad team and a really good team. The battle between those two guys individually is really what mattered, and I pray we get it at some point in a playoff series. Let's go ahead now and talk for a little bit about Warriors versus Nuggets. This game was a roller coaster for the first half. It's really close. Teams are trading buckets back and forth. Nobody's going on too crazy of a run. And then we kind of got one of those vintage Warriors third quarters, which really aren't a thing anymore. They decimated the Nuggets in that third quarter, outscored them 44-24. Steph had 10 points. Pods had 9. He's fantastic, by the way. Kuminga and Clay had 7 each. Wiggins had a couple buckets. They shot 78.3% from the field and looked completely unstoppable, running away with the lead despite Jokic playing the whole third quarter. It didn't even matter that the best player in the world was out there. The Warriors looked unstoppable. We've seen flashes of this throughout the season. It's just been rare that we've seen it so consistently over the course of a full quarter, and this one was one of the best quarters of the entire season for the team. And with 6:51 to go in the fourth quarter, Wiggins hit a shot to put the Warriors up 18. At that point, it felt like the game was probably out of reach for the Nuggets, but from then on, Denver eviscerated Golden State. Aaron Gordon immediately goes on a self 9-0 run. Jokic starts attacking, gets some free throws. The Warriors went completely cold, couldn't get anything going downhill, settling for a lot of bad jumpers, turning the ball over. Jokic hits a jumper to tie the game with 26 seconds left. After it just felt like it was over, they erased an 18-point deficit in 6.5 minutes. But the Warriors have a chance to go ahead and win this one. They've got the final shot, but Steph turns the ball over. 4 seconds left, Jamal Murray gets a steal. They are able to inbound the ball following a timeout, and Jokic hits an absurd 40-foot bank contested 3 for the win. It doesn't even feel like a real shot. I'll post a screenshot here or something like that, the one that I posted on Twitter. If you just take a look at the still, you're like, there's no chance that that shot's going to go in. It weirdly felt similar to, maybe this is just my PTSD as a Thunder fan, it felt somewhat similar to Curry's 3 that he hit against us back in 2016. You know, the classic Mike Breen double bang one. Not the exact same scenario, but even still, it was one of those absurd shots where, like, there's no way that goes in. Jokic loses his mind because, of course, he does. He puts up 34 points, 9 rebounds, 10 assists, 2 steals, and a block. He's hilarious. He shot 13 of 16 in this game, 2 of 2 from 3. He's 39 of 44 from the field over his last 4 games. That's just 5 misses over 4 games. I don't know how he does it. This is a big win for the Nuggets, battle back late, and showcase how dominant they can be. I feel like a lot of people forget that this still is the best team in the Western Conference, and they're able to completely lock in at sometimes, and when they do, it is terrifying for the rest of the league. Huge shout out to the Nuggets for making the comeback in this one, didn't roll over and die, said, nah, we're going to win this one, and just Jokic, Aaron Gordon in particular. Jamal Murray had a big second quarter, I think it was, third quarter maybe, but he had some big moments as well throughout this game. Peyton Watson played well down the stretch. Just this Nuggets team continues to play really well on the season. And as for the Warriors, this went from a statement, maybe turn around your season type of win, to another disastrous loss. The Nuggets are good, but when you're up 18 points with 7 minutes to go, you cannot blow that lead if you want to be taken seriously as a team. They only scored 4 points in the last 7 minutes of this game. They led up a 25-4 run. Kevon Looney wasn't providing much resistance at all. Curry and Clay couldn't buy any buckets. I have no idea why Jonathan Kuminga didn't come back in this game at all after the 6-minute mark in the third quarter. He didn't play after that moment, and in that time that he played, just, 19 minutes, puts up 16 points, 4 rebounds, and 4 assists on efficient shooting. He was amazing, and down the stretch, it felt like they needed someone that had some athleticism, someone who had some size out there to stop Aaron Gordon and the Nuggets, who were just destroying them on the interior, but they never brought him back in. It was crazy, and we're seeing it have some effects, because a report came out right as I started recording this video that apparently Jonathan Kuminga has lost faith in Steve Kerr. He doesn't think he's going to be able to find his true potential playing under Steve Kerr. That is a wild headline to see come out. It speaks to kind of the dysfunction we're seeing from the Warriors right now. And not long afterwards, Moses Moody, who I was also going to talk about in this video, but even before the report came out, also racks up another DMP. He's been getting them consistently as a player who, when he plays, has been really, really good. And now a report comes out that he's also frustrated. Steve Kerr has just not been doing a good job balancing this whole thing. I also feel like Pods could have finished the game with how he was playing all throughout. He did play a lot in the third quarter and the beginning of the fourth, but maybe you sit him for a couple of minutes, give him a chance, because he was really, really effective, and he was doing a better job than some of the other veteran guys. I don't know. I just feel like Steve Kerr has consistently found a way to overcoach this team. He's trying to galaxy brain stuff when it doesn't have to be that hard. Play the guys that are working, sub in the guys who have earned their minutes, and just ride, see what happens. With this loss, they fall to 16-18, half game back of the 12 seed Utah Jazz, and 2 of their most young promising players are apparently super frustrated. With all that being said, those are my thoughts on the games. Let me know down below in the comments what some of your thoughts and takeaways are. What do you think about the Rookie of the Year race? Do you got Wemby? Do you have Chet? What do you think Wemby's career is going to look like? Do you think Giannis could grab another ring or 2 before Wemby pops into the fold? What do you think about the Warriors situation too with Jonathan Kuminga and Moses Moody? Should they trade them? Should they fire Steve Kerr? I don't know. Would love to hear your thoughts on all that. But for right now, leave a like and subscribe if you enjoy. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on future videos. I appreciate y'all watching. I'll see y'all later. Real one, say back.